come to you through Scripture, through prayer, through discussion, through conversation, through praise. Give us guidance and give us direction. Amen. A poem by Jeannie Marie Beaumont entitled Afraid So. Is it starting to rain? Did the check bounce? Are we out of coffee? Is this going to hurt? Could you lose your job? Did the glass break? Was the baggage misrouted? Will this go on my record? Are you missing much money? Was anyone injured? Is the traffic heavy? Do I have to remove my clothes? Will it leave a scar? Must you go? Will this be in the papers? Is my time already up? Are we seeing the understudy? Will it affect my eyesight? Did all the books burn? Are you still smoking? Is the bone broken? Will I have to put him to sleep? Was the car totaled? Am I responsible for these charges? Are you contagious? Will we have to wait long? Is the runway icy? Is the gun loaded? Could this cause side effects? Do you know who betrayed you? Is the wound infected? Are we lost? Can it get any worse? Afraid so. So I know what some of you are already thinking, so you can blame me. Songs were a little slower today. It is well was sung with power. Psalm 22, Carol did wonderfully, and I read that poem to start my sermon. I apologize. You braved the elements just to be brought down in worship. I apologize. But we live in a broken world, and much of that is our reality. How did that poem make you feel? Could you relate to any of those things? Maybe a few of them made you chuckle. Did it bring back memories? When I heard this poem for the first time, the whole time this was going on, the title of the poem was like a litany going off in my mind. After each line, I said, afraid so, afraid so, afraid so. It brought up pain, insecurities, anxieties, fear. It brought up angst within me. It frustrated me. But we live in a broken world. We live in a world that's uncertain, a world filled with pain, and a world filled with anxiety as well. As Carol mentioned, Psalm 22 is the first verse is uttered out of the mouth of Jesus while hanging on the cross. My God, why have you forsaken me? So why would I read a Good Friday scripture on the first Sunday in Lent? We haven't gotten there yet. Lent is a time of introspection, but it's not supposed to take me there yet. It's a psalm that has so many intricacies and is rich in beautiful language, yet at the same time is painful and heart-wrenching as well. The psalm begins with a complaint against God. God, in this writer's mind, has forsaken this person, has left this person wondering, where is my God? If we were to take a closer look at the word that's translated forsaken in the New Revised Standard Version, your Pew Bible, person feels abandoned by God. The one that is not supposed to abandon. The one that is supposed to be there at all times for all people. Yet despite that, even though the writer feels completely abandoned, God is still addressed in the possessive. My God. My God. This leaves the verse with a great deal more depth. Why has God forsaken or left God's own? Yet with all of that, the writer still feels that God belongs to this person. The psalmist feels deserted by God. Yet the psalmist still trusts God. Trust that God will show up. Trust that God will rescue this helpless person. Then it continues, and the writer expresses trust in God. And days of old are conjured up in memory. In verse 4, in you our ancestors trusted. They trusted and you delivered. To you they cried and were saved. This resonates stories of the Exodus from prior in the Hebrew Bible, where the Hebrew people were rescued out of Egypt. This resonates stories of the judges when a downtrodden and destroyed and oppressed people were taken into the hands of an enemy, cried out to God, and then were rescued. Over and over in the Hebrew Bible, there is isolation and abandonment. There is they've taken over by an enemy, they're oppressed. They cry out to God, and God comes to rescue. The psalmist takes hold of that language. In you our ancestors trusted. They trusted and you delivered. To you they cried and were saved. Then in Psalm 22 it continues in verse 6. It says, I am a worm. I'm not a human. I'm scorned by others, despised by the people around me. All who see me, they mock me. They make mouths at me. They shake their heads at me. And they say, commit your cause to the Lord. Let God deliver. Let God deliver and rescue the one in whom God delights. Do you hear the pain and do you hear the agony that's going on in that scripture? I'm not a human. I'm a worm. I'm beneath the ground that people are walking on. They despise me. They scorn me. I'm embarrassed by the way they talk to me. We read this scripture today because right now there are millions, maybe hundreds of millions of people in our world that can resonate with the psalmist's words this morning. People are dealing with the death of loved ones. People are dealing with mental illness, abject poverty, oppression by a dominant culture, diseases that are preventable, food insecurities, clean water insecurities. There are people all over our world, there are people in this community as well, that are hurting, that probably feel completely and totally abandoned. At some point, probably most of us have or will feel similar feelings. The ones that are closest to us have passed away. Insecurity about what's going to happen now that the company has closed its doors. Insecurity about now what am I supposed to do with the fixed income, a volatile market, and the cost of everything seems to be going up. God, what am I supposed to do? More than 41,000 people in the United States committed suicide in 2013. 41,000 people. That's more than the city of Yukon, or about the same number. There are people affected by natural disasters throughout our world, women being taken advantage of because they were born into poverty and they were born into a society that does not accept their gender as being able to support themselves or their family. There are still people today being sold into slavery. Yet we live in Oklahoma, in the city or in the suburbs. We don't feel a lot of that sometimes. Yeah, we drive around and we might see somebody who's sleeping on the side of the road. But we don't see a lot of that. Pain and anguish. But what we also don't realize is many people carry that around silently every single day. People you may live on the street with, people you may work with, people in your family, people that you call friends. And I believe this psalm cries out to us today and says, pay attention to the hurt and the pain of our world. Open our eyes and let us see what is really going on around us. Now, if you've spent much time in the Psalms or studied the Psalms, you may realize that the anguish that this person experiences, my God, why did you leave me? I feel like a worm under the ground. I cry to you by the day, but you do not answer. If you read those words and you spend time in the Psalms, you know that that's not the end of the story. For in verse 9, even though it says people are mocking this person, it says, yet it was you who took me from the womb. You kept me safe. On you I was cast from my birth, and since my mother bore me, you have been my God. There is still a sense of hope. There is still a sense of faith and trust. A deep and sometimes even unexplainable faith and trust in God. The abandonment, the isolation, the disgrace, the desperation, but yet there is more. Yet there is more to the story. Then in verse 20 to 21, it breaks. There's pain and there's anguish and there's feelings that one's joints are even dislocated. With that much even physical pain coming through one's body. And it says in verse 21, from the horns of the wild oxen, you have rescued me. You have rescued me. The psalmist was going through so much depth, so much struggle, and in the end, God is there to rescue. Now, we're not told what that rescue looked like. We're not told if those who were mocking and scorning that person were given what they deserved, as someone said. But we are told that the person is rescued. And then in verse 24, God did not despise or abhor the affliction of the afflicted. He did not hide his face from me, but heard when I cried out to him. God heard the cries of the afflicted. God is present today with the afflicted and the suffering. This may well be why Psalm 21 or 22 verse 1 is quoted by Jesus on the cross in Mark chapter 15. It was at that moment that Jesus became one with the suffering of the multitude. It was at that moment that he could totally identify with the afflictions of many. He could totally identify with the oppressed of our world as he takes on the suffering on the cross. There's an organization out there today that I feel very strongly about that works to improve the lives of others by bringing hope, by bringing messages of salvation, much like our psalmist was speaking of. That organization is called Week of Compassion, and in our denomination we celebrate that the last 2 weekends in February every year. We celebrate it, we put it in your bulletin bulletins and an envelope. And if you want to give, we welcome that opportunity. But I want to tell you a little bit about them. Week of Compassion is working to support and encourage people every single day throughout the world, through disaster relief, humanitarian aid and refugee support, sustainable development, and mission opportunities. They're in the mission field every single day through partner agencies that feed the hungry, that heal the sick, that clothe the naked. Are you sensing a trend here? They are literally being the hands and the feet of Christ every single day all over the world. If you go down and you buy a pound of coffee or some chocolates from our CWF women, it says equal exchange on it. That's one of their partner agencies. They help make it easier and more cost-effective to bring items from underdeveloped countries into the United States that use honest trade practices and also take care of their employees the way they should be taken care of. Pay them a fair wage and working fair hours each day. I now see that brand in the grocery stores, which is just amazing that they're able to help get this nonprofit organization stuff that is actually taking seriously that we're going to take care of people and put this to where everybody can buy it. They also make sure that out of $1, 94 cents on the dollar are spent to actually go into the organizations and the help that we're supporting. Now, if you're familiar with not-for-profit organizations, the goal, the industry standard is about 15 cents on the dollar for administrative costs. 6 cents on the dollar for Week of Compassion. Which is an incredible testament to their stewardship practices. But just like the psalm, that's not the end of the story. That's not the end of the story for us, too. We also ought to strive to bring messages of hope to those around us. Here at this church, we support Refuge Fellowship. 4 times a year, we take dinner to a homeless church on Monday nights. And we provide food for them and worship with them. And the church is simply designed to meet the needs of the homeless in our community. The baskets at the doors of our church are for Wildwood. We take that food, who does a food pantry once a month at Wildwood Christian Church. We donate that food to Wildwood Christian Church. Putnam Heights Elementary, just over here in our neighborhood, we have church members that are going and tutoring each and every week, filling backpacks of food to send with people, helping in other ways by getting school supplies for those who need it the most. Here in our church, through children's and youth ministries, trying to raise and grow kids of faith so they can be young adults of faith as well. Or befriending the neighbor you've never met. Or reaching out to the coworker or colleague that you know who's struggling and having a rough time. Smiling to someone you've never met may just be what that person needs that day and bring someone to a place of hope. Extending a hand to help someone up, not to keep someone down. These are ways that we can be the hands and the feet of Jesus Christ today. We have no idea the kind of impact we have on others with just the smallest thing we might do. It's my prayer that we accept the call to follow God and be the hands and feet of Christ in this world. And may we accept the call to be bringers of hope to people of faith that trust God, and people of faith that trust God, so that God will lead us to reach out to the hurting and the suffering of this world, so that we can make an impact unlike we may have ever imagined, so that we can take the hope of Christ out of this place and into the brokenness that exists in our world. We live in a broken world. Let us work with Christ to find ways of repairing that brokenness through hope. Through
my pleasure to invite anybody